It began with a sound. Not loud, not obvious, just the faintest whisper of movement in the downstairs hallway in the dead of night. I remember sitting up in bed, confused. Amanda wasn't next to me. The soft glow of her phone was missing, and the bathroom light wasn't on. I glanced at the clock, 2:47 a.m. At first, I told myself she'd gone to grab water or check the thermostat. Simple, mundane things people do when they can't sleep. But as the minutes stretched on, the faint noise grew louder in my mind, gnawing at the edges of my nerves. Unease settled over me. I slid out of bed, my feet sinking into the plush carpet, and crept toward the hallway. That's when I heard her voice. Low, gentle, the kind of voice you use when you don't want to wake someone. Yeah, I know. I miss you too. I froze, every muscle locking in place. Her voice was coming from the living room. My pulse quickened. Amanda wasn't the type to talk in hushed tones. I edged closer, staying hidden behind the wall. No, he doesn't suspect a thing, she said, her tone light, almost playful. You worry too much. I told you it's fine. He's clueless. My chest tightened. A cold, sinking feeling clawed its way through me. This couldn't be real. Amanda was practical, straightforward, never one for games. But there she was, pacing in the living room with her phone pressed to her ear, wearing something that set off alarms in my mind. A fitted black tank top and shorts I'd rarely seen her wear. Her hair wasn't messy from sleep. It looked styled, as though she'd just come home. Then she laughed. A warm, flirtatious laugh that made my stomach churn. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Can't wait. She ended the call, and for a moment I considered retreating, pretending I hadn't heard anything, convincing myself this was innocent. But something inside me cracked. Amanda. Her name came out sharper than I intended. She whipped around, her phone nearly slipping from her hand. Her eyes widened in shock, but only for a second. Then her expression shifted, calm and defiant, as if she'd rehearsed this moment. What are you doing up? She asked casually, as though nothing were out of the ordinary. What am I doing up? I stepped into the room, anger rising like a tide. What are you doing sneaking around at 3 in the morning, dressed like that, whispering sweet nothings into your phone? Her lips twitched, and for a fleeting moment, I thought she might laugh. Not from humor but mockery. Don't be ridiculous, Matt, she said, rolling her eyes. It was work stuff. I didn't want to disturb you. Work stuff? At 3 in the morning, dressed like that. My voice was rising now. Do you think I'm an idiot? She crossed her arms, her tone shifting to sharp annoyance. Clearly you're acting like one. Not everything is some big conspiracy. God, Matt, you're so paranoid. That calm, calculated tone. The one she used to shut me down. But not this time. Who were you talking to? I demanded. I told you, it was work. Don't lie to me, Amanda. My voice echoed through the room, harsher than I meant it to be. For a split second her mask slipped. Guilt flickered in her eyes before she smothered it under a wall of icy defiance. I don't have to explain myself to you, she said coldly. You're acting crazy, Matt. Go back to bed. I stared at her, my chest tight, my hands shaking. Every instinct told me she was hiding something. But I couldn't prove it, not yet. I'm not going anywhere, I said quietly. Not until you tell me the truth. Her eyes locked with mine. And for the first time in years, I didn't recognize her. She wasn't scared or sorry. She was annoyed. You want the truth, she said, her voice dripping with venom. The truth is you're smothering. Always suspicious, always asking questions. Maybe if you trusted me, we wouldn't have this problem. And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving me standing in the dark, fists clenched, my heart pounding. The next morning, Amanda acted like nothing had happened. She hummed as she scrolled through her phone, asked if I wanted eggs or cereal, and sipped her coffee with infuriating calm. I called in sick to work. The moment she left, I went straight for her laptop. She wasn't careful enough to set a password. At first, everything seemed normal. Emails, spreadsheets, presentations. But then I found a folder buried deep in her files, labeled personal. Inside were photos of her. Tight dresses, lingerie, even topless shots. Outfits I'd never seen. Pictures she'd never shared with me. And then I found the messages. Draft emails saved but never sent. Addressed to someone named Mark. Can't wait for our weekend together. You make me feel alive. Last night was amazing. I can still feel your hands on me. I slammed the laptop shut, my breathing ragged. There it was. The proof. Amanda wasn't just lying. She was living a double life. I even remembered her perfume. Stronger, sweeter than usual. It clung to her when she came home late. A scent that didn't belong in our quiet life together. My phone buzzed, jolting me from my spiral of thoughts. It was Amanda. Amanda, hey babe, how's your day? Feeling better? I stared at the message, my jaw tightening. She was texting me like everything was fine. Like she hadn't just torn our marriage to shreds. My first instinct was to confront her. To fire off a reply demanding answers. But I stopped myself. Amanda was skilled at spinning the truth. At turning situations around to make me doubt my own reality. If I was going to confront her, I needed more than anger. I needed irrefutable proof. That's when I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I was going to follow her. The chase. Amanda had a gym session scheduled for the evening. She'd been obsessed with working out lately, a newfound dedication that in hindsight, felt less like self-care and more like preparation to impress someone else. So I waited. When she left the house, I followed. I kept several cars behind her, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. My heart pounded with every turn she took, every stoplight. But she didn't go to the gym. Instead, she pulled into a small parking lot near a park. I parked at a safe distance and watched as she got out of the car, phone in hand, and made her way to a bench under a cluster of trees. Then he appeared. Mark. He was tall, muscular, the kind of man who looked like he belonged on the cover of a fitness magazine. Amanda's face lit up when she saw him, and before I could process the sight, she ran into his arms. They kissed, right there in the open, like they didn't have a care in the world. Rage flooded my veins. My vision blurred, my hands shook. I wanted to storm out of my car, confront them, scream at them both. But something held me back. Instead, I grabbed my phone and began taking pictures. Click. Her arms wrapped around his neck. Click. Their lips meeting. Click. Them walking hand in hand toward the trail, disappearing into the trees. When they were out of sight, I sat there trembling. This wasn't just a fling. This was something deeper, something brazen. She didn't even seem to care if she got caught. The confrontation. By the time Amanda came home that night, I was a volcano on the verge of eruption. I had spent hours staring at the photos I'd taken, each one seared into my mind like a brand. She had kissed him in public, mocking our marriage with every touch, every laugh. The door clicked open. There she was, looking every bit the picture of a devoted wife. Her cheeks were flushed from the cool night air, her smile easy and unbothered. Hey babe, she said, dropping her gym bag by the door. Feeling better? Where were you? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She hesitated, just for a second, before replying smoothly, the gym. I told you this morning. I stood up, locking eyes with her. Funny. I didn't know the gym had trails in the woods. Her face barely flickered, but I caught it. The crack in her carefully constructed mask. What are you talking about? She asked, her tone defensive now. Don't. My voice was low, steady, simmering with anger. I reached for my phone on the coffee table and pulled up the photos. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I turned the screen toward her. The blood drained from her face as she stared at the first image, the one of her kissing Mark. She opened her mouth to speak but closed it again, gasping for words. You followed me? She finally managed, her voice tinged with outrage. That's what you're focusing on. I barked, my voice rising. Not the fact that you've been sneaking around behind my back. Lying to me? Kissing him? Her shock melted away, replaced by something cold and sharp. You had no right to spy on me, she snapped. That's disgusting, Matt. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. Disgusting? You want to talk about disgusting? How about cheating on your husband and lying about it for months? She crossed her arms, her posture defiant. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, I wouldn't have had to find comfort somewhere else. Her words hit me like a slap. My anger flared, keeping me upright when all I wanted to do was crumble. Controlling? Are you serious? I trusted you, Amanda. I didn't question your late nights, your work trips. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. And this is how you repay me. Oh please, she scoffed, rolling her eyes. You've been distant for months, Matt. Always stressed, always in your own head. What was I supposed to do? Sit around and wait for you to notice me? You mean like I've been waiting for you to act like my wife instead of sneaking off with your boyfriend? That one landed. She flinched, her jaw tightening. But instead of apologizing, she doubled down. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't need a boyfriend, she hissed. The room went silent. Her words hung in the air like shards of glass, sharp and cutting. For a moment I couldn't speak. The sheer cruelty of it stunned me. I stared at her, searching for any trace of the woman I married. The woman who once called me her everything. But she wasn't there. This version of Amanda was a stranger, cold, spiteful, and unrecognizable. You don't feel any guilt, do you? I finally asked, my voice quieter now. Not even a little. She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed her bag and turned toward the stairs. I'm not doing this with you, Matt. I'm tired. And I'm not going to stand here while you play the victim. I watched her walk away, the bedroom door slamming shut behind her. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I hated her more for what she'd done, or if I hated myself for letting it get this far. I thought, just for a moment, that she might apologize, that she might show some shred of remorse or guilt. But instead Amanda shrugged, her voice laced with venom. Maybe I was looking for something you couldn't give me. Her words hit me like a freight train. That was it. The last straw. I grabbed my jacket and keys without a word, my chest heaving with suppressed anger. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed to leave that house before I said something I'd regret. Where are you going now? She called after me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Running away? Real mature, Matt. I didn't answer. I slammed the door behind me with a finality that seemed to echo through the night. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring into a kaleidoscope of rage and heartache. Amanda's biting words replayed in my head, over and over, until they morphed into a battle cry. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. And if Amanda thought she could humiliate me and walk away unscathed, she was dead wrong. As I navigated the quiet streets, an idea began to crystallize in my mind. Confronting her again was pointless. She'd twist it, deflect, gaslight, turn it into a spectacle that somehow made me the villain. No, I wasn't going to fight her or beg for answers anymore. Instead, I'd vanish. No explanations. No arguments. No warning. Just gone. If Amanda wanted a life without me, I'd give her exactly that on my terms. When I pulled into the driveway that night, I was no longer the man who had left hours earlier. My decision was no longer driven by raw emotion. It was precise, calculated. Amanda thought she'd won, but she had no idea what was coming. The house was dark as I stepped inside. Upstairs, I saw the faint glow of her phone illuminating her silhouette through the cracked bedroom door. Probably texting him. I said nothing. I didn't want to tip her off. Instead, I locked myself in the office and set my plan into motion. First, I secured my finances. I logged into our shared accounts and transferred my half into a private account I'd set up earlier that day. I left just enough to cover the bills for a month. She wouldn't notice anything was amiss, at least not right away. Next, I packed. I didn't bother with sentimental items. The photos, the keepsakes, all of it felt meaningless now. Instead, I focused on essentials, clothes, my laptop, important documents. I stuffed everything into a single duffel bag. By the time I was done, it was past midnight. The house was eerily quiet. The kind of silence that presses against your chest and forces you to confront the reality of your choices. I walked to the kitchen, wrote a brief note, and left it on the counter. You wanted freedom. Now you have it. Don't call. Don't text. We're done. Without a backward glance, I locked the front door behind me for the last time. I didn't go far, not yet. I checked into a dingy motel on the outskirts of town, paying cash to avoid leaving a trail. The room smelled faintly of mildew, and the mattress sagged in the middle, but it was perfect. It was a place to disappear. The next morning, over bitter motel coffee, I finalized my escape. I deactivated my social media accounts, forwarded my mail to a P.O. box, and changed my phone number. Amanda would wake up to an empty house, an empty account, and no way to reach me. But I wasn't finished. Justice demanded more. I opened my laptop and uploaded the photos I had taken of her and Mark. Photos of their public betrayal, their stolen moments in plain view of the world. I sent them anonymously to a few mutual friends, people Amanda had always tried to impress. Let them see the truth for themselves. I wasn't proud of it, but I wasn't ashamed either. Amanda had destroyed our marriage with lies and betrayal. If she wanted to play dirty, I wasn't afraid to meet her at her level. Over the next few days, I watched the fallout from a safe distance. Amanda tried to spin her story, but the photos spoke louder than any lie she could tell. Mutual friends called confused and cautious. Some tried to defend her, repeating the narrative she fed them, that I had overreacted, that she had been pushed into Mark's arms. But most couldn't ignore the undeniable evidence. Slowly, her carefully constructed facade began to crumble. The email came 2 days later. Subject none. Message, full of vitriol. How dare you humiliate me like this? You had no right to send those photos. Do you know how much damage you've caused? People are asking questions. I'm a laughingstock because of you. Paragraph after paragraph, she hurled blame at me. But not once did she apologize. Not once did she acknowledge her own actions. I didn't reply. She didn't deserve the satisfaction of a response. When Amanda finally managed to reach me, calling from an unknown number, her voice was shaky and hesitant. Matt, can we talk? You've got 5 minutes, I said coldly. I didn't mean to hurt you, she stammered. I don't know what to say. I screwed up, okay? I made a mistake. A mistake. I snapped. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. You didn't make a mistake, Amanda. You made a choice. Over and over again. Silence hung heavy on the line. I didn't mean for it to get this far, she finally whispered. No, I said, my voice steel. You didn't mean to get caught. And with that, I ended the call. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. Chapter 1: The End of Us. The silence after her words was deafening. Amanda shrugged, her tone biting and indifferent. Maybe I was looking for something you couldn't give me, she said. Her words a dagger in the heart of the man I once thought I'd always be. That was it. The last straw. I grabbed my jacket and keys. The weight of betrayal too heavy to bear under that roof. Where are you going now? She called after me, sarcasm dripping from her voice. Running away. Real mature Matt. I didn't answer. The door slammed behind me, a punctuation marked to the end of an era. I drove aimlessly through the city, my thoughts a storm of anger, humiliation, and heartbreak. But amidst the chaos, a strange clarity emerged. This wasn't about confronting Amanda or demanding answers anymore. It was about reclaiming control of my life. If she wanted freedom, she'd have it on my terms. Chapter 2: The Disappearance. By the time I returned home that night, my resolve had crystallized. Amanda was upstairs, her silhouette faintly visible as she lay scrolling on her phone. Probably texting him. I didn't confront her. Instead, I locked myself in the office and began laying the groundwork for my escape. Step 1: Secure my finances. I transferred my share of our joint account into a private one, leaving just enough to cover the bills for a month. She wouldn't notice until it was too late. Step 2: Pack. Essentials only: clothes, my laptop, important documents. The sentimental trinkets could stay. They meant nothing now. Finally, I left a note on the kitchen counter. You wanted freedom. Now you have it. Don't call. Don't text. We're done. The door clicked shut behind me, final and resolute. Chapter 3: The Fallout. I checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. The flickering neon sign outside matched the fragile sense of hope burning within me. For the first time in months, I felt free. The next morning, I finalized my exit. Social media accounts deactivated. Mail forwarded to a P.O. box. Phone number changed. Amanda would wake to an empty house and a vanished husband, left to explain her actions to a world that would soon see her true colors. I sent the photos, those damning snapshots of her and Mark, anonymously to a few mutual friends. Not out of spite but justice. If Amanda wanted to play dirty, I'd make sure the truth was heard. The fallout was swift. Friends who once idolized her began to question their loyalty. Amanda scrambled to spin her story, painting herself as the victim. But the photos told the truth, louder than her excuses ever could. Chapter 4: The Encounter. Weeks turned into months. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, finding solace in solitude, and rediscovering who I was outside of her shadow. But Amanda wasn't done haunting me. Her first email arrived as a pathetic plea. "Matt, I made a mistake. Mark's gone. I see now how much I threw away. Please, can we talk?" I didn't reply. She didn't deserve my words. Then came the letter taped to my door. "Meet me at the park tomorrow at 6 p.m. Please. I need closure." Against my better judgment, I went. Amanda was waiting on the bench where we used to sit, her hands trembling in her lap. She looked smaller, her arrogance replaced by desperation. "I'm still the woman you fell in love with, Matt," she whispered, her voice cracking. I laughed, bitter and sharp. "The woman I fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did." Her tears fell, but I felt nothing. I turned and walked away, leaving her with the wreckage she had created. Chapter 5: Rebirth. 6 months have passed since I disappeared from Amanda's life. The anger that once consumed me has cooled into indifference. The pain, while still present, no longer defines me. I've carved out a new life. A small apartment, new hobbies, and friendships untainted by the past. I've learned to prioritize myself, to recognize my worth, and the power of walking away from those who don't value it. Amanda reached out one last time, her email a final attempt at absolution. "Matt, I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say I'm sorry. I hope you find peace." I didn't reply, not out of hatred, but because she no longer mattered. She was a closed chapter, and I had no desire to reopen it. In the end, Amanda's betrayal taught me more about love, trust, and resilience than I ever imagined. If there's one lesson I've taken from it, it's this: never settle for less than you deserve. Love isn't supposed to feel like walking on eggshells. Trust once shattered rarely heals. Amanda thought I would tolerate her lies, her betrayal, her audacity. She was wrong. And now, as I stand on the other side of it all, I am free. Free from her. Free from the shadows of the life we built. And for the first time in a long time, free to be me.